Welcome everyone to the live question and answer session of winning in the workplace. How to answer any interview question that's out there. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to come into the live stream on Instagram and on TikTok. And I'm going to be answering your questions. I have been getting hundreds of questions and comments on a daily basis, and I want to do my best to make sure that I am answering those questions for you. I try to get to every single one of them on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and I want to make sure that I'm getting them to you here. I'm going to pin my email address and text line in the chat. So if you need me to review your resume for free, I'll be happy to take a look at your resume and tell you what needs to be changed. If anything needs to be changed, I'll give you my honest opinion. Remember, the goal is for you to get interviews once you apply to a job. And if you're not getting any responses back from when you apply to jobs, that usually means your resume is not positioned correctly. And by positioned correctly, I mean hiring managers are not impressed with what they see. And we will talk about that tonight and why that's important. Okay, so on Instagram, I have pinned my email address, CoachDanielSmiley@gmail.com, and my text line, 469-616-3233. 72 Jedi said, I love your content. Just took an assessment test, hoping for an interview. And I wish, I'm hoping that you get the interview as well. If something happens and you have to take another assessment like that, just reach out to me. I'll tell you the kinds of answers to give. Miss Trayan says, I would love for you to review my resume. Please email it to me. I will take a look at it, and I will tell you exactly what my thoughts are. Remember, when I do resumes, when I am reviewing your resumes, what I am doing is I am making sure your resume is fit for applicant tracking systems. It can get past any AI system, with keywords, and it's uploadable to LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Indeed.com, all of those places that you typically will have your resume. And the thing that you need to know, the difference between what I advise and what you see out there is I am sharing this information from the perspective of a human resources talent acquisition manager who builds and designs applicant tracking systems. And for a living, for the past 35 years, I reviewed resumes, interviewed candidates, got candidates hired for companies all across the United States. Your resume is positioned to attract a team of people like me. So if you are applying to jobs but you're not getting any responses, I'm telling you it's because your resume is not positioned correctly. Now, by positioned correctly, what do I mean? The first page of your resume, from the first page, it should be very clear about what you're an expert at. And I can tell you that 98 out of 100 resumes are not positioned that way. They're not. So recruiters, many are lazy, just being honest with you. They are not going to call you back because it's too much work to figure out what you're good at. And just so you know, the way this works is recruiters are given a job to go out and bring forward candidates who match the qualifications that the hiring manager needs. That's what our job is. And so recruiters spend hours upon hours each day looking at your resume to see where your expertise is and how it matches up with what the hiring manager is asking for and needing, or what the company needs. And I'm telling you, it is hard to read some of your resumes. And when I say read your resumes, I mean it's hard to understand from your resume what you are an expert at. An expert. That is what's going to get your foot in the door. That is what's going to get you a call back. That is what's going to get you an interview. If you can't even get to the interview, there's a problem. Okay. So you have to make sure that your resume is positioned correctly. You can go to these resume writing companies, man, and I'm telling you, I'm not telling you from an AI perspective. I'm telling you from a real live human perspective. What hiring managers, and I worked with hundreds in the past 35 years, they all look for the same thing. The only nuance, okay, the only nuance is the technical skill. You're either a customer service rep, that's your technical your skill, an administrative assistant, CEO, CFO, accounting person, CPA, HR person, operations person, medical person, nurse. It's the only difference is your technical skill, but everything else is exactly the same. I cannot express to you how true that is. It's all the same. And 99%, 99, I'll probably be a bit more generous. 98 out of 100 hiring managers have no idea what they're doing when it comes to interviewing. And you are suffering because of it. You are suffering because they don't know how to pick good candidates. They have no idea. Even the ones I work with, they have no idea. If I bring you a candidate who is supremely qualified and you don't select that candidate, you have lost your mind, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. And when I ask them why they didn't select a person, it's usually because, well, I just didn't feel like that person was going to be a fit on our team. What do you mean you don't feel it? This person can do your job and 5 other people's job on your team starting tomorrow, but they still won't select a person because they don't really know how to select candidates. Now, they know how to do their jobs well, but when it comes to recruiting, hiring good people, a lot of hiring managers fail miserably. And that's just the truth. Okay. Miss Trayan says, I got referred, but not an interview at usajobs.gov. If you're applying for a government job, just know that process is very long. It can take you 3 to 9 months to actually get hired with them because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, 100 out of 100 times, they are working based off of a budget. And so that budget is set every single year, and they can only hire so many people. And they go through this long, drawn out process to get you hired. And it's just so much red tape that they have to go through to get you hired and get you in and get you qualified and get you this and get you that. And you got to go through all of these different portals and interviews and tests and all of the stuff that the government requires. It takes a long time. So get you a part-time job while you're waiting on a full-time job from the government, just so you know. It takes time. Beautiful New says, is this only advice for employment, or do you give dating advice too? I don't give dating advice. I can talk to you about how to select a guy or a girl or what kinds of things you need to look for, but this is not dating advice. So I'm not a dating advice guy. That's not what I do. If you want to DM me and ask me a question, I'll give you my opinion. But I'm a happily married man to an amazingly beautiful woman with an amazingly beautiful and talented daughter. So I'm not a dating advice guy, and don't really know who I can recommend that you listen to for that. So thanks for that question. All right. Hey, good evening. My wife, Julian, referred me. Thank you so much, Noel, for joining. We appreciate it. And thank you to your wife for referring you. I want to get to some of your questions. Before I get to some of your questions, I want to introduce you guys to a brand new resource that I just created. It's up in my store right now. If you're working on a job right now and you're wondering how you can boost your career, by boost your career, I mean increase your skill set so you can make more money, or increase your skill set so you can get promoted, have more responsibility, and make more money, I've created a resource, the fastest way to get a promotion and a pay increase on your job. It's called 10 Keys to Increase Your Value and Boost Your Career. It's in the store right now. It's just $12.99. It's like 60 pages. It's a guide. It's 10 keys to increase your value and boost your career. Now, I'm sharing this from a human resources and talent acquisition perspective about what we look at when we are coaching hiring managers, line managers, when we're coaching them on how to promote people within their organization. What do we tell them that they need to look for? Okay. So I advise, if you want to boost your career for the purpose of making more money, if you want to get promoted on your job for the purpose of increased responsibility and making more money, you need to invest $12.99 and go get that guide. I promise you it'll change your entire life, okay? And while you're there, there are a bunch of other guides as well, like the resume template, resume rework service, one-on-one coaching, all that good stuff. But let me answer your questions, okay? So I got another question from Instagram. It says, if you were terminated, but it was honestly not your fault, it was something that was out of your control, how do you respond to why were you terminated? Okay, so let me share something with you guys really quickly. And I tell you guys that being terminated is really not that big a deal. Hiring managers don't really care about that. Before I got the job that I currently have now, I was terminated from my job. I was actually, it was really a reorganization. They made it seem like it was something else, but it was a termination. I was with that company for 6 months, and I essentially worked my way out of a job. Okay, so they had this big staffing issue. It was a property management company, and I was responsible for hiring people for all the apartment communities for this real estate investment company. And they had been struggling for a long time to get that done. It took me like, I don't know, 60 days to fix it, right? So I always come in, I develop a structure, make things happen, show people how it all works, and everything essentially flows through me and my department when it comes to hiring. And I help the hiring managers make those decisions and make them fast and so on and so forth. Well, it got to a point where I didn't have a lot of work to do, because the types of people that I try to hire in organizations, they stay for a long time. A long time in today's work environment is at least 2 years. That's the target. You want to keep people around for at least 24 months, because if they stick around for 24 months, usually they're going to be there for at least 5 years, right? And that creates cohesion and allows the company to kind of 2x, 3x, 10x its profits. So I was terminated from a job. And I think because of the level of my position, it took me about 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks to get another job. But that wasn't even an issue. And I was honest about it. I said, listen, I worked myself out of a job. I was with that company for a short time. I told them exactly what's going on. So here's my point. My point is, number one, most hiring managers are going to ask you this question: why did you leave your last job? They're not going to ask you if you were terminated from your last job. That question might come up if they do a prior employment verification, right? Employment verification through their background company, or they may have an individual do it. But most HR departments, I know ours don't, we don't tell people the reason why you're no longer with the company. We don't give that information out. So yes, you were terminated, but people are really not asking you that question. Now, the best thing that should be happening is if you talk to a recruiter before you talk to the hiring manager, the recruiter should flush that information out so that the hiring manager is comfortable with with why you're transitioning from one job to the next. So here is the answer. Hiring manager asks you, why did you leave your last job? Why is the hiring manager asking that? Because they want to know if you're going to stick around on this job. That's really what they want to know. Are you the kind of person who's going to be loyal, who's going to be here for a while? Because I really don't want to train somebody else if I hire you, right? That's essentially what the hiring manager is thinking, and that's what they're thinking about. Are you going to be here for at least a year or 2 years? That's really what they're thinking. So how do you respond? Well, listen, things didn't work out with that last company because my goals, my values, they're different. They align more with this company, and that's why I'm here. Okay, that's why I'm not with that other company. I'm not with that other company because my goals just don't align with that company. They align more with this company. That's why I'm here. And the hiring manager will usually accept that answer. Okay. I mean, it's a good answer. It's a pretty straightforward answer. It's a broad answer. But all they really care about is, am I going to have to train somebody else 3 months? Are you going to leave me in 3 months? Are you going to leave me in 6 months? That's why they're asking why you left your last job. That's the only reason why they care about that. Okay. So don't be afraid of being terminated from a job for whatever reason. And if they for some reason they find out you were terminated, then I always tell people, just be honest and say, I made a mistake. I learned from the mistake. I'll never do it again. That's what you need to make sure you're saying. Okay. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer that question for you. DMS Punk 59 says, Coach, what advice would you give a young talent acquisition coordinator working in HR department in the HR department for a blue collar company, no bonus structure? What advice would I give you? Do everything that you can. Okay, so in a blue collar company, the big challenge that you're going to have is turnover. Okay, and so you need to really, really find candidates who have a history of staying with companies. So whether they're forklift driver, construction workers, skilled trade labor, it doesn't matter what they are. Turnover is very, very high in those types of industries. And you can eliminate turnover by making sure that you are asking the right questions to the individuals, right? So in these instances, like in blue collar workers, you do want to ask questions like, why did you leave your last job? Because that gives you an insight into how they think, right? Well, I left my last job because I didn't like my manager. I left my last job because of this, because of that, because the work was too hard. Okay, then why are you doing skilled labor? Why are you doing construction? Why are you laying bricks? Why are you throwing boxes? Why are you doing that stuff, right? So it tells you that maybe that job was just a thoroughfare. They were trying to do this job because they're trying to get to another job. And you want to make sure that if you are hiring skilled labor people, you need to find grunts who are skilled labor. They love that kind of stuff. They want to work with their hands. They don't want to have to do much thinking. Those are the types of people that you want to make sure you're hiring. Develop your skill in the blue collar area because it's pretty broad. There are a lot of companies that need talent acquisition professionals like yourself. You can also work in the staffing space and do the exact same thing. Grow your expertise in that area. Because if you can hire skilled labor, trade labor, blue collar workers, you can hire almost anybody. Okay, because they may seem like it's a dime a dozen, but the big issue you have is turnover, and you have to be able to lick that. I will be more than happy to mentor you in this area. If you just want to send me some direct messages or emails or text me, I'll tell you exactly what to do. Okay, so thank you so much for the question, and I appreciate your service in talent acquisition. Apples Camille say, I am shortlisted for an interview next week. Okay. So what does shortlisted mean? That means that they interviewed a bunch of people and you one of the last people they selected. Okay. If that is the case, the question is, how do you get over the finish line? Right. If you want to send me a direct message and tell me the kind of position it is and the pay and everything else, and I'll talk to a couple of people today about that, I can tell you exactly how to be the number one candidate. If the people you are competing against for this job are not listening to what it is I'm saying, they're not following this content, I'll show you how to wipe the floor with all of them. Because everybody's going to ask you the same question, right? and I'll show you how to answer those questions. So they're like, oh my God, this girl wants to come in, this person wants to come in and knock it out of the park for us. S421 says, how will you answer if in the interview you were asked if you're looking for additional employment? Okay, so let's talk about that. Why are they asking you, are you looking for additional employment? Okay, well, that's usually one of the last questions. I'm gonna share with you a unique way to answer it. That's usually one of the last questions in the interview. Do you have any other companies that you're interviewing with? Are you looking for other employment? This is what you say. I do have other options, but this is the best one, and I would accept it if I was offered it. Because the reason why they're asking you that is because they are really thinking about making you an offer, and they don't want to make you an offer knowing that you might not be there if a better offer came along a month from now, 2 months from now. But you don't want to tell them you ain't got no other, prospects. Yes, I do have other options, but this is the best option, and I would accept it if I was offered it. That will make that hiring manager move. Now, let me tell you what I do to support you in this. I tell hiring managers, do not drag your feet. These people are not going to be waiting on you. Good candidates will not be around a week from now. So make a decision. And I expect hiring managers to make a decision within 24 to 48 hours following an interview. I really try to get them to make a decision 30 minutes after the interview is over, because they know. They know. They do know. I know too, right? So make a decision, because that person is not going to stick around. So if they're asking you if you have other employment opportunities, yes, but this is the best one right here. Okay, that's how you want to make sure you answer that question. If you have a question, leave it in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer your question. Okay, Chocolate 44 Queen says, I am waiting for my fingerprints to come back for a new job. Should I constantly contact the employer to check on the status, or should I wait until they call me? I don't want to seem too needy. This is for you, Chocolate Queen, and everybody else who's listening. How long does it take for fingerprints to come back? Usually 5 business days. Okay. So if you have not, so if you're in the process for fingerprinting, right? Obviously they got you in the fingerprinting process. That's cool. You want to make sure that you are staying up to date on the process. So I would say every 2 or 3 days, just reach out and say, hey, I'm just trying to find out where we are in the process. Most background checks, depending on how in-depth a background they're doing, will take anywhere from 5 to 7 business days. So it can take up to 10 days for that stuff to come back. So I would say if you check with them every 3 days, that would be great. Now, what happens when you call? Okay. Well, if you call them, let's say I was the person that you were calling, I can go right into our background tool and I can see the status of your background. And I could tell you right on the spot, thank you so much for calling me. But it's still in the process, and it's saying that we have another 2 or 3 days to expect it, because most background companies will give you an expected delivery date, an expected finish date. And so you want to make sure you're staying abreast of that. Now that keeps you fresh in the mind of that hiring manager, fresh in the mind of that talent acquisition or human resources person. So every 3 days is what I would recommend. No more than 3 days. Don't wait 4, don't wait 5, don't wait on them. No, don't wait on them. Okay, that's my answer. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer your question for you. Miss DSM Punk says, thank you for the great response to my question and for the offer of mentorship. You're very welcome. I'm here to help as much as I can. Do you do practice interviews? So, I can do practice interviews, but I'm giving you all of the interview answers through my content. So if you just scroll through my page, the questions that I'm asking, and giving the answers to, 99% of hiring managers will ask those questions. In fact, I have a guide, the top 50 interview questions that almost every hiring manager in the world will ask you. Top 50. Okay. If you get that guide, it gives you all of the answers. It's a cheat sheet. Okay. Now, I can do a practice interview with you, but you really don't need that. If you want to do a practice interview, send me a message. We can set up a one-on-one, and I can go over some things with you. Here's what you need. I guess raising hell. Here's what you need. You need to know how to be supremely confident when you walk into an interview. I mean, you need to be able to beat on your chest like, you know what? I'm Superman. I'm Superwoman. And if you follow the content, my content, that is the purpose behind it. I am trying to empower you. I'm trying to show you guys that it is not as hard as you think it is. It's much simpler than you know. And every question I'm giving, these are not just questions that just I thought of last night. I've been asking these questions and building these questions for hiring managers for 30 years. Same questions. They're asking the same questions in 2024 they were asking in 1998. Same ones. Now, they don't know that because maybe they were a baby in their mom's belly back then. But they're asking the same exact questions, same ones. And I'm giving you all the answers because you need to get a good job. You need to take care of you and your family. I'm giving you all of the strategies about how to get promoted, how to make more money, how to ask for more money, how to get bonuses, education and reimbursement, all of that. It's all the same everywhere. They all do the same thing. Okay. And so we can do a practice interview. If you want to get on a call with me, you can schedule a one-on-one, shoot me a message. I'll tell you how to do that. We can kind of go from there. Okay. I want to help you. If that's what you feel like you need, I got you. Okay. All right. So here's another question. How do you answer the question, what are your 3 strengths? Okay. So here's the deal. Now, I really want everybody to really pay attention to this. Why is a manager asking you, what are your 3 strengths? Okay. Because they want to know if what you are bringing to the table will solve the problem, their weaknesses on their team. Well, what are the most common problems, right? They want somebody who's going to be committed. What does that mean? I'm going to be here 100% of the time, 100% of the time. My strength is I am a committed individual. When I get down in the dirt, I'm getting dirty. Okay. What is another thing? They want to know if you are going to be a loyal person, right? Meaning you're not going to be looking with them and looking at some other stuff as well, right? They want to know if you're going to be focused. If I have you doing a task, are you going to be doing that task, right? But let me tell you what they really, really care about. Are you the kind of person that's going to help me be great? That's really what they care about. Tell me what your three strengths are. Are you the kind of person that's going to help me be great as a manager? Help me look good as a manager? Help me succeed as a manager? Are you that kind of person? So I say, I'm the kind of person that loves to see my manager's goals and goals accomplished. Because really, that's what they care about. That's because if you're not hired to do the job, they have to do it until they hire somebody to do the job. And they want to know if they can hand it off to you and never have to worry about it again. That's really what they care about. Okay. Rudolph, Coach Daniel, I had an interview on Friday with the sales manager. They asked me to consider them first. I told them I had another offer. They said they had 3 more people to wait 2 weeks. Big mistake. Okay. So Mr. Rudolph. So let me see how I can how I can share this. I'm trying to be clever here, but I, and try to use it like dating or something. But the woman that you are interested in does not want to know that you have other women that you are interested in. No hiring manager wants to know that you have another offer. They don't want to know that, because what the first thing they think about is, one, they may have to get into some sort of bidding war, and it may be outside of their ability to offer you what is needed. Number two, if you have another offer, then they may be wasting their time offering something to you. That's when they come back to me and say, Daniel, I think he's good, but let's keep looking at other candidates. Never tell an employer, a hiring manager, you have another offer. If they ask you to consider them first because you want to maintain control, you'll say, absolutely, I would love to do that. As soon as you get me the offer, I will be more than happy to review it and give you my decision in 24 hours. Never tell them you got other offers on the table, because they are not going to offer you the job. And if they do, it's because they're desperate and they don't think they have other options. But they don't think you're going to stick around. They really don't. So I hope that helps you. Rain Shell said, I appreciate it. You're very welcome. Apples, I find your content to be very useful, especially right now as I am preparing. The video on reframing the main questions are gold. I'm going to be reposting a bunch of those things so you guys can understand what the hiring manager is really asking. I'll continue to post some of those. So thank you so much. I'm glad those are helpful to you. That's the reason why I'm here. Rudolph says, thank you, even though they asked me if I had other offers. I know they asked you if you had other offers, but I'm saying, I just don't, I don't advise. So, and I don't know if you dealt with a talent acquisition person, but a good talent acquisition person, if you had dealt with them, and I don't know you did, will prep you and let you know. You see, these hiring managers, I'm just gonna call it like it is, Rudolph. They're weak. Some of them are weak, very weak. Okay, and any thought that you're not going to choose them, then they get in their feelings like they got some kind of control or power. The reason why they asked you to consider them is because they thought that you were the best candidate and they want to make you an offer. But the moment you told them that you had other offers that you were considering, then to them, they're like, oh my gosh, maybe he don't want to marry me, right? Or something like that. So that's why I advise, keep your cards close to your chest. You know what I mean? Don't give up all of your goods. Hey, Dan, do you have another offer? I have other opportunities, but this is the one I am most interested in. I cannot wait to see what you guys put on the table. Now that pushes them to a point where they now have to think, oh wait a minute, I got to go above and beyond if we want this guy because he's talented. So I know other people, are after him as well. We got to put our best foot forward. That's when I go back and I'll say, hey, Mr. Rudolph, tell me, what do those other offers look like? And you'll say, well, Dan, that offer is $90,000. And I know our position said $80,000. And then I'll say, okay, Rudolph, if we offered you $95,000, would you take it? And you'll say, well, absolutely I will, because it's $5,000 over what I'm getting. Then I'll go back to the hiring manager and the powers that be and say, hey, I talked to him and 95 gets him in the door next week. Can we do that? Right? And then if they are as interested as I think they are, they will move on that 95 because they believe that is a good investment for a future superstar on the team. So I know you had other offers. That's because you're the man and you got it going on and everybody want to hire you because you are a producer. I know it. But I'm saying next time, Keep your cards close to you, maintain the control and the power. Ms. Dim says, Coach, how do you handle candidates that reach out to be considered again after they declined a job offer you sent to them? They stated the reason why they were re-engaging, and they stated the reason why they're re-engaging and are strong candidates. All right. So let me tell you my rule. Now, this is my rule only because I never ever have a shortage of candidates because of how I recruit and how the process that I use for recruitment. I never, ever, ever, I would never, ever, ever give a candidate a second chance who declined an offer. Okay. Now, that may seem like it's counter to what it is I teach and coach, but it's not. If that candidate was smart, right, the candidate who declined the offer, they would have had you put your best foot forward from the very beginning. Okay. Now, let me tell you, I try not to make the final decision in that. I'm telling you what I would tell that candidate. I would say, hey, Mr. Candidate or Miss Candidate, I offered you a job and you told me no. So under most circumstances, I would never let you back in the door. But if I can talk to the manager and they are interested in you, would you be interested in talking to them? Yes. Okay, before I talk to them, let's get all of this other stuff out of the way. Let's talk about pay. That's when I get all of that stuff out of the way so that I can bring a package to the hiring manager. And then I'll go to the hiring manager and say, hey, this person has a situation where, they thought something was going to come through. It didn't come through. They're still available. Our position is still open. You like that candidate. Are you okay with making that candidate another offer and bringing that candidate in the door? If that hiring manager says yes, then I will come back to you and make an offer, but I would make sure that you felt the Daniel Smiley stamp. Sir or ma'am, I never do this ever because I do not have a shortage of candidates. So you cannot, I am representing you. You can never, ever, ever turn your back on me in this situation because I'm representing you. Because normally I wouldn't let a person do that. So I'm trying to partner with this person and have them partner with me and us in a way that causes them to be committed. Going to the highest bidder is not always the best choice, especially if you're utilizing the incentive questions that I have you ask. Okay. The job that I have now, I turned down another job that was a $10,000 sign-on bonus. And I think it was $4,000 more a year. But it was, a straightforward recruiter position for a hospital. And when I researched the hospital, even though I accepted the offer initially verbally, I turned it down because a management position became available. What's my point? And I know I can't go back to that company. I can't even reach out to them. I'm not going to do that because I accepted an offer and turned it down. And you can do that too. No issues with it. You just got to understand the consequences of it. So ask the hiring manager if they will be okay with bringing that person back on. And if they are, let that candidate know you were an advocate for them. Okay. I hope that helps. I get passionate about those kinds of things. All right. So another question from Instagram. I have 21 years of an array of administrative experience, and I went back to school in 2021 to acquire my bachelor's degree. I'm in civil service, and despite my experience, I never meet MQs for promotion. What advice is best to help catapult my career? It's exhausting and deflating. So first of all, let me make sure I answer your question accurately. Okay. So these are quotas that you have to meet. I'm sure that's what you're asking me, right? You never meet your MQs for promotions. So the different things that you have to do to get promoted. Well, what's the answer to the question? Meet your MQs, whatever they are. Now, check this out. This new resource that I have, keys to increase your value and boost your career, make more money in the workplace right now, get promoted, get pay increases, right? If you get that guide, it'll tell you how to solve this problem. Okay? Because there are some things that you should be doing and can be doing right now that will make you stand out. And it'll help people to potentially overlook some of those MQs if they can. Okay? So I hope that helps you. Okay, so here's another question. So I asked a question, someone asked a question on one of the videos. The video says, what is the one question, if they ask you, do you have any questions, what questions should you ask? And I always say there's only one question you should ask, one, that's it, no more than that. And that is, when would you like for me to start? That's the only question that you should ask in an interview, because all of the other information that's relevant to that company and the job, you should already know that, okay? So this person responded and says, Coach, would this answer still be applicable when dealing with Gen Z or late millennial hiring managers, HR managers conducting the hiring interview? Could it be interpreted as being cocky? No. Let me explain to you the strategy behind this question, okay? So the reason why I ask you to ask the question, when they ask you, do you have any questions for me? When would you like for me to start? It's because if you don't ask that, you are going to walk out of there wondering how well the interview went and if they are interested. So listen to me very carefully. Hiring managers know by the end of the interview if they want to hire you. They know it. They already know it. Okay? Now you may be equal to, with respect to comparison to another candidate, and it may come down to pay or distance from work or whatever, right? But they know after your interview if they want to hire you. They know it. So the only way for you to take the power back, is to ask them a question that makes them show their hand. You should never, ever, 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 never, and I mean never, ever, not ask this question. Always ask the question. Always, always, always ask, when would you like for me to start? Because it causes them to have to show you their hand. If they like you, they will tell you the options for starting. If they don't like you, you will know it because they will not give you options for starting. So never, ever, 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 for the rest of your life, ever not ask that question. It is not a cocky question at all. It is a question that shows the hiring manager, one, that you're interested, and number two, you want to know, are you interested in me? Because I got to put food on the table, take care of my family, pay a mortgage and a car note. I need to take care of my business. So I'm asking you, do I need to keep on looking, or am I able to stop? So make sure you're always asking that question. Big Dog says, even in times I haven't asked that, they told me things like, here's the next steps. Right. So they're telling you what the next steps are because they really are interested in you. But many times, I would say 8.5 out of 10 times, hiring managers are keeping their decision close to the chest because they want to appear to have the power, the control, and they don't. If you could see on the inside, they want to jump up and dance around the room because they just interviewed one of the best candidates that they've ever met. And they know you can do the job. So you don't want them skooky footing around with you. I almost said another word. You don't want them messing around with you. Take the power back by asking that simple question. When would you like for me to start? And they'll tell you. And then you'll know. Okay? Big Dog says, I never stop until the offer comes. That's right. That's good. All right? So I hope that was helpful. If you have a question, leave it in the comment section. Okay? A question from Instagram. What response would indicate their interest or that you have a good chance of being chosen? So this question goes right along with what I just told you you should ask. Most candidates walk out of an interview and they don't have any idea about what the hiring manager is thinking. If you want to know what somebody is thinking, get them to talk. If you want to know what they're thinking, this is what the scriptures say. Out of the abundance of the heart, and in this instance, heart means out of the abundance of a man's thinking or a woman's thinking, the mouth will speak. So we say what's on our mind. And the easiest way to find out what's on a person's mind is to ask them a question that they have to answer. Okay? This is why I am so good at recruiting, because I have mastered the art of asking questions so that I can understand how a person thinks, and then I can determine that person's actions by what they think. Okay? So you want to get the hiring manager to open their big mouth. When would you like me to start? They have to think about it, then they will respond, then you can decipher what they're saying, interpret it. Okay. Tim Witt says, what if they ask that on the first of many interviews? I actually did that the other day and it threw her off. Yes, it's going to throw them off. It sends another message too. When you ask them the question, when would you like for me to start? Subconsciously, you're telling them, I want this job if you want me to be hired. Do you want me to be hired is the question that you're asking them to give you a response back. Okay. And it's going to throw them off because no one asked that question. No one asks it. Okay. Now, let me tell you what I do. After an interview, I ask the hiring manager that question. They'll tell me all of these great things they like about this person. Then I'll say, okay, great. When would you like that candidate to get started? Because they're not going to wait around. And they will tell me. Then I can come back to you as a candidate and tell you everything that you need to do to get prepared. Okay. So Kayla asked, how many questions do they ask on an interview? Most interviews last 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. Usually it starts off with them going over your background and your technical skills. That portion of it may take 10 minutes. They go over your resume, talk to you about the company, the whole 9 yards. And then they'll go into these questions about who you are as a person and your character and trying to understand all of those things. And that will usually last 20 minutes, right? So most interviews will last anywhere from 30 to 40, 45 minutes. If an interview is shorter than that, they don't like you. They don't want to hire you. If it's shorter than 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they're not interested. So they can ask as many questions as they want. Just know interviews typically last about 35 to 45 minutes. S421 says, my interview is on Tuesday. I don't have a problem with the job I have. Do I let them know I became engaged and this location will be closer? Nope. You do not tell them that. Okay. Now, why don't you want to tell them that? Because they're going to think that the only reason why you're taking this job is because it's closer to your house. Well, what does that mean? Well, if something else becomes closer to your house, if something else becomes available, that's closer to your house than this job, then you're probably going to take that job too. Don't tell them that. Okay. If the reason why you want to leave your current company is because you want to be closer, that's fine. You know, you can say to them something like, well, the opportunity here is a much better fit for me than where I currently am at. Now, fit can mean a lot of different things, but you want to say the reason why I'm leaving my current job is because the opportunity here, it is a much better fit for me than where I'm at. That's how you want to answer that question. You don't want to tell them that you want to, you want to be closer, because if something else comes closer, I'm telling you exactly what they're thinking. Well, if something else comes up, I mean, she's fickle. She's like a feather in the wind. The next time something blows, she's going to be gone. And then I'm going to be stuck in the same exact place again, trying to hire somebody and train them. And it's just going to leave a scar on them. And it keeps going like that. So no, do not tell them that. Please don't. Now listen to me. If you don't do what I'm telling you, you're not going to get an offer. I'm telling you that. Okay. Army butterfly. I keep running into them wanting to talk salary before the interview time and time again before we sit down and speak about the job description. Why is this more common? Because just like your technical expertise, the financial piece is also a qualification. Okay. So how do you overcome that? They can talk about salary. If you follow my guide, you can get the guide, what you should know before you go, the best way to negotiate pay, the fastest way to get paid, all that good stuff. You can look at my story to show you all that stuff. It'll tell you how to go out and find the same information that I find to create the salary range that hiring managers use. And you will know what the range is, okay? And you can walk into that meeting with confidence, knowing your answer. This answer is the right answer. If they ask you, tell me about what you're looking for in terms of pay before we even get started with the interview, you can say, I know what the range is for this job you guys have it listed. I am definitely in that range. That's all they want to know. Okay. And if they say, well, can you give me a number? The job pays between 70 and 90. I'm somewhere in the middle, maybe at the top. Right? So that you can get past that question. Why are they asking you the question? Well, here's why they're asking you the question. Because in the past, they may have interviewed somebody that was as good as you, and that person turned the offer down because the offer was not what that person was expecting. Okay, but they don't know your experience. They don't know what's going on with you. So they're trying to get that out of the way first. Now, a good talent acquisition pro, if you had to go through a talent acquisition person, would flush that out in the pre-screen and give that information to the hiring manager before you even interview with the hiring manager. So that never, ever comes up, ever. It should never come up. All right? Every hiring manager, when they get the meeting notes from our pre-screen from me or my team, they know exactly how far you live from the location, how much experience you have, the least amount you're willing to accept for a job. They know everything already. So that question should never come up. Okay. But if you're not dealing with what I consider to be very good, well-trained talent acquisition or HR people, it may come up and you need to be at the ready with the data. I know what the market pays for my skill in this position, and I am definitely within that pay range. Okay. Seems like they make a determination by what I want to make. They make a determination about whether you are qualified for the job based on what they want to make, what you want to make. That's why they're asking that question. And that's why I'm telling you to say to them, I'm telling you to position it in the way that I'm asking you to position it. You want to maintain control. You do not want to give that power away to them by giving them an answer that is going to cause them to say, well, we need to end this interview because you want more money than we are willing to pay. Because that's what it's going to come down to. That's what's going to happen. So here's the deal, guys. You know, I'm going to be doing lives every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. Okay, I might jump on and do a live another day. I want to be answering all of your questions. We are getting anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 new followers every single day, and I want to make sure that I am serving you guys in a good way. I want to answer your questions. I have resources, and I would love your support. Okay, if what I'm sharing with you is helping you in any way, opening your mind, helping to prepare you for interviews, I would love for you to give a $10 gift. It's very easy to do that. You can click the link in my profile and give a $10 gift. I would really appreciate that. It helps me to do what it is I'm doing. And if you need help, you need your resume to be taken, you need me to take a look at your resume and give you my honest opinion about your resume, email me. That's free. I'll do that for free. Okay. If you need a one-on-one coaching session. Let's say you got an interview coming up for a job and you really want to nail it. You can schedule a one-on-one with me as well. All you got to do is click the link in my profile. If you need me to redo your resume so that it is absolutely perfect for any applicant tracking system, AI system, hiring manager or recruiter, I have a resume rework service. We take care of that for you as well. You can click the link in my bio. And if you are working on a job and you're happy, but you're thinking, okay, how can I increase in this job, grow in this job, make more money, get promoted on this job? Then this new resource, 10 Keys to Increase Your Value and Boost Your Work, your career, you should get that. It's the fastest way to get a promotion or a pay increase on your job. I'm telling you from an HR talent acquisition perspective, the conversations that we have behind the scenes about what they are looking at in the actions and activities of an employee to make a determination about who they're going to promote. Okay? Get that guide. And if you have questions for me, you can email me, DM me, leave a comment, or text me 469-616-3233. I will be happy to answer your questions. And like I say at the end of every live that I do, I will spend the rest of my life helping you get to the next level in yours. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you next time.